So we're going to do notes, and we are going to be in 51-4. Cut this out. I'm learning I need a lot of space, so maybe I'll just write a lot. So we're on this strip, and as I look over this strip down here, this just has us think about, do humans fall into any of this particular type of behavior? So I'm going to cut that off. So we often explain our feelings, our behavior, I guess. So we're going to skip that. We're going to stick with the part that's content in the book. So I've only got this little teeny tiny strip, and I think I can get it all on one piece of paper. So I'm going to put it here. So let me show you where this is in the book. So if you go to the OpenStax book, and you are still going to be in, I guess it's chapter 36, section 7. And it's going to start with this title here with finding sex partners. And we do talk about intersexual selection and intrasexual selection on another strip. So that's where you start reading, though. I've clicked on this website. It goes to YouTube, and the channel's been removed. So that's another thing you need to tell your teachers if you're, using resources and the materials aren't all there. You need to let them know right away. So they've got a connection here with Endler, which we're going to talk about on Friday when we have our live class. And then this is the section that directly answers up here at the top with this, describe the various mating systems. So let's go over here and let's start taking some notes. So I'm going to look through the question first, because we've talked about how these are worded very much like what a short free response would be on an exam. So when they say describe, I want to give all the important attributes or the characteristics of various mating systems, and I do this with a particular focus on this ultimate causality, which is the same thing as ultimate causation. So let's go back up here and remember. So ultimate causation has to do with an increase in reproductive success. And there's really just two parts to it. You have to live long enough, so you have to have a long life to have a lot of offspring, because genetically then you're leaving offspring that are similar to you. And so they should be successful in that environment because that particular organism that had them is successful in that environment. Differential success is another term that they use for this same concept. So they're saying pay close attention to this ultimate causation of having a bunch of babies, of male reproductive success, which means producing more viable, means living offspring. So if you have a ton of offspring and they're not living, it's not going to make a bit of difference. So let's start with this piece. So I want to first talk about a mating system. A system is just a bunch of working parts that work together. A school system, for example, would be an elementary school. Let me move this down so you can see. An elementary set of schools, middle schools, high schools, there in order to educate people K-12. So a system here would be a relationship between the parts that are going to be for the purpose of mating. And when you think about the ultimate causation of why you'd have a mating system, that's supposed to be you, it's going to always be focused on the needs of the young. Because your goal is to have living that live long and have more offspring. That would be success. So, in the scope of things, parenting in this particular case, this relationship that's between the male and the female is going to differ depending on these young. So young that are born pretty self-sufficient, you don't have to have parenting that includes both parents staying around and raising young. You're going to have a bunch. When you have young that have high needs, I mean like humans, that's a good example, you're going to have a different way of parenting because those young will not survive on their own. So there's a parenting piece that you have to have in order to actually meet the needs of the young. So let's look at what the different types of mating systems are. So the first one is called promiscuous. And you've probably heard that word before. Usually just means that you have multiple sex partners. And so what the whole point of promiscuous is that you do not have any pair bonds. So the male and the female don't mate for life or even for the season. It's just random mating events. And there's as many as possible that you have. So when there's no relationship between the male and the female, so no pair bonds between the male and the female, how is that ultimately going to meet the needs of the young and increase reproductive success? That's the answer to the question. Not what promiscuous is, but how would having no pair bonds between males and females actually increase reproductive success? So the answer is going to be that what you do in this particular case is it's going to optimize the number of mating events. So if you see me looking like really weird outside, that's where my notebook is, and I just want to make sure I don't forget. So if every male is mating with pretty much every female that comes along, that's what promiscuous means, then you're going to have a lot of mating events, which means you should have a lot of offspring. And so this is one particular system that optimizes reproductive success, which is your ultimate causation, because there's no pair bonds and you have just a ton of mating. Okay, so let's go to the other extreme, monogamous. Monogamous, if it's the opposite of no pair bonds, you have strong pair bonds between a male and a female. Often they bond for life. And so what's the benefit of that? You're definitely not optimizing the number of mating events because they're only mating with each other. So what would we optimize? So let's think about that. You're going to optimize the coordination of effort. So because they stay together, they're going to understand each other. Whoa, what happened? Sorry, I've got the, what's that thing called? It's like a smart board, but it's really not smart. Anyway, I've got that on, so that's what that is. I apologize. I guess you've noticed with these, I don't redo them. Like, this is just me and you and the way things go. So this is how we learn. So let's think about these two. These two are very different from each other. So if you're optimizing the coordination of effort, I can infer that you're going to have young that need both parents. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put that. I can infer that the young have high needs. So let's think about up here. If it's all about mating, I bet it's not all about the young. So this is going to infer that the young are pretty self-sufficient. And when they're born, They're probably on their own. So let's keep going. This isn't the only way that things work. There's another system that's called polygenous, but poly means many, GYN means female. So this is going to be very much what we're used to seeing out like in the wild, I guess, like any of us go out in the wild, but you know what I mean, where you have one male and you have many females. So this is going to be different than any of these. This is all males, all females. If you're old enough and mature enough past juvenile stage and you come across another organism in your species that's not your sex, your gender, off you go, okay? This is only between one male and one female. This is one male and many females. So that's also going to have strong bonds. So it's going to have strong bonds that are going to be between this male and all of the females. So there's lots of herds of animals we've seen that do this, lots and lots. So what's the point in it? What are we optimizing if we have one male who didn't just get elected? It's not like that we had a big election and we're like, oh yeah, let's vote for him. He fought to win that spot. So he had to compete with the other males, and at this point in time, he is the strongest male. So what are you optimizing here? So you're going to optimize protection of the herd. That's one thing. But if you think about it, as long as he can fight and he's able to win this position, genetically, he's the most fit. So you're going to also optimize the genetic strength, which just means that in that environment, this male is the most fit, and he's going to sire all the offspring with these females. So the genetic strength of the offspring. Because you're only allowing the male with the best genetics to actually have offspring. So the last one, let me go over here and make sure it's part of this. Yes, okay. I would hope so, but I just wanted to make sure. All right, where are you? Is polyandrous. So AND means male, like androgen. So poly means many. This one's rare. It's a little odd. But you've got one female with many males. So a lot of times, females that lay eggs will, instead of like holding the eggs for one male to fertilize, they'll lay the eggs in many places, which that's one female, right? And then many males will come along and they're going to fertilize those eggs. So it's the opposite of this situation. You're not trying to have the one male's genes pushed into the herd. You're having as many possible sires as you can, and you're going to, at that point, optimize diversity in the gene pool. So I said I was going to do this all on one page, didn't I? Okay. Well, I don't know if that's going to work. So these four all have different reasonings behind them why that they're continuing. So these are behaviors, right? There's a monogamous behavior. So these are all behaviors because they're just relationships between these organisms. And the different relationships have to do with what the needs of the young are. So it may appear that a female ant chooses an ant based on eye stalk length. That is not the ultimate cause. Explain. So this right here is an interesting theory. So this is called the good genes theory. It's not terribly popular, but it is an example of a way to explain the preference that females have for males. So in this case, we've used the example that the female is out and she sees a male with really long eye stalks. So let's draw our little male. Put an eyeball out here. Okay, so there's my ant. We'll give him some chompers. And give him some, whoops, probably needs another foot. Oh, wow, that's an attractive ant, but he's got super duper long eye stalks. First of all, I kind of wonder how that's selected for. It just looks like that if I'd have to look at you like that and then go, oh, there you go, I see you over there. I don't know. It just seems weird to me. But anyway, so the female goes, oh, baby, you're good looking. And she's going to mate with this one. There has to be something else besides just eye stalk length, right? Because there really is nothing we can't figure out a reason why that you'd want long eye stalks. But what it turns out to be, and this is where the good genes theory is that there's this kind of underlying genetic piece that we don't see. So the outward would be really long eye stalks. You're selecting for what you can see. But what comes along with that, so this is what's hidden, tends to be they live longer. So they have a longer life. So while it appears that she's selecting for eye stalks, what is actually occurring is that it's what these two genes or many genes are linked together. So that's not the most popular example of things, but that is something that has just some roots in explanation, like when you're trying to figure it out and you're explaining these selections between females and males. So let's do another one, which is, let me go over here. Watch the video on the bowerbirds. Ultimately choosing a male with the most ornate nest, the female is ensuring reproductive success in what way? All right, let's watch it together. I've got it right here. I think this one's a little different than the one that you would scan here. They're both BBC, what's his name? David Attenborough. Anyway, he's got a great voice. So we'll watch this one together. Okay, I say I will. I think if I make it big, it gets pixely. So we'll see. We'll leave it like right here. I need to move me. Okay, that's Bowerbird. And you can tell you don't ever want to go to the movie with me or watch a movie with me because I tend to talk.
So that is how it should be done.
That's a juvenile male. That's the entrance to his bower. So a bower is a nest.
Junior returns to his own bower and tries to improve.
So think about that. He's observing an older, successful male to mimic and to become successful. He's struggling hard. Okay, he's wearing me out. Pick a side.
he just can't make up his mind.
So that's almost like a stage entrance to where that they preen in that, and it draws attention from the female to that little hole.
And it's not just about building.
So this is important right here.
Ross's bar has something to do. That's talking.
Ooh.
She's really pleased with her there. And the boss is going to tell.
No blue. But he's learning. He's learning. So this behavior is transferred this way. Now, normally, young males are, ooh. It's not what you think. So he's starting his little dance. Here, like that blue one? What about this blue one? See what I got for you? Listen to him. Bingo. Okay, that's enough. So here's the thing about that that's so super cool. So you've got, I'm going to move me again over there. Okay, so you've got a juvenile male. So let's think about this. Let's put this down here. So bowerbirds, what can we actually see that's going on from that video? What are some important things that we notice? So first thing is that there's a pretty ornate nest, bower. Notice I'm on the second page that I totally said I wasn't going to do, but here I am. So there's an ornate nest, and it's got like a stage. It's got blue items. You don't see it there, but he's got a collection of food. Like he might have a huge pile of berries, all kinds of things. So what he's really doing is he's convincing the female that he's a good provider, if you think about it. So all of these pieces, I don't know what the dancing necessarily does, but anyway, so he's going to dance right there at the stage. That's to lure her in, for her to then see his wonderful collection of blue items and then his food collection. So let's think about these blue items. Why in the world, with ultimate causation, would a bird spend that much time and energy to go collect straws and what did he have, a milk jug ring and I don't know what all? What's the point of this? If you ultimately are able to go source a bunch of blue items, first of all, you're pretty smart, right? And second of all, you're going to be a good provider. So you're smart and you're a good provider. And that's the evidence for the blue items. Look what I went and did. Look at the time I did things with. I found all these blue items. I'm smart enough to find them. I'm resourceful enough to find them. I will be a good mate for you. And what's the whole point of ultimate causation? So all of this is going to lead to reproductive success. I'm going to do that, which just means that you live long and you have a bunch of babies. And if you think about it, because genetically this is this part of it, the offspring should be really good at this stuff too. So she's selecting for the success of her offspring. So this is the actual answer to the questions. It says, watch the video. Ultimately, in choosing a male with the most ornate nest, the female is ensuring reproductive success in what way? Well, there's two ways. She's ensuring that she's getting a smart, which in this particular case is strong genetically, and she's getting a coordinator, a mate that's going to work with her. But let's talk about that juvenile male. So you had he called him the master. So you've got the older male and you've got the younger male. So all of the different ways a younger male could look just like the older male, but smaller is what tends to happen. The younger male here looks like a female. What in the world? What would ever be the point of that? It is such a cool reproductive strategy and something that is selected for in this particular species. Let's think about why. First of all, the older male is not going to chase off the younger male because he looks at this as, you look like a female, I'll just practice on you. So he's going to practice his courtship. So how would that ultimately be a behavior, because it is what happens if it's maintained in a system, which is an evolutionary system, there has to be a benefit to it. What's the benefit to it? Well, there's two benefits. One, the older male is going to get better. He's going to be a better, what would he, courter? Is that what you call somebody who does courtship? He would be better at courtship. And what does the younger male do? He learns. He learns by receiving the courtship like a female, so he learns what to do to gain a female. Now, once he changes as he gets older and he looks like the older male, no practice courtship. That's going to be highly competitive, and that male's going to have to go away from that bower. So, but that is so cool when you think about that behavior being maintained, and it would not work if that younger male did not look like a female. So all of the ways that a male could look, that phenotype, which is how something looks, was selected for, because at one time there probably were males that looked a lot of different ways, that looked like the older male, that didn't look like either, and that looked like the female. And so this particular way of looking, this phenotype, has been selected for because it gains this older male a benefit to practice the courtship, because the younger male will be older one day, and it also keeps the younger male from being a competitor while he learns. This is super cool. Okay, so that takes care of this particular strip. We'll talk about how these are going. I'm not doing Ed Puzzle with these for you. I'm just going to walk you through. This is exactly how it'd be if I was at the board. We'd be talking through all of this in writing. Okay, I think you're the best. Have a great first week of school. I'll answer any questions you have. I'm going to stop this video and put it up on Canvas.